House Arrest by KA Holt, a First Chapter Friday novel and verse read aloud video with the Word Nerd. Just a quick reminder before we dive in that I have many more novels and verse available for you on my channel. Today, as you listen, watch for the story quote that will appear on screen. Write it down word by word and then follow the instructions given to you by your teacher. Hey everybody, welcome to my channel Learning with the Word Nerd and another First Chapter Friday video. This week we're going to be reading House Arrest by KA Holt. Just like all the other videos this month, this book is a novel in verse, which means that it's a story told in poems. So the words on the inside of the book might look a little bit different than something you've seen before, but that's just one of the amazing things about this story. My copy of the book doesn't have a blurb on the back, so I'm going to read what the story is about to you from my phone. Timothy is a good kid who did a bad thing. Now he's under house arrest for a whole year. He has to check in weekly with a probation officer and a therapist, keep a journal, and stay out of trouble. But when he must take drastic measures to help his struggling family, staying out of trouble proves to be more difficult than Timothy has ever thought it would be. Here's what one of the reviewers of this book said. I think it just sums it up so lovely. This gripping novel in verse is serious and funny, thrilling and touching, sweet and snarky. Plenty of appeal for reluctant readers and enthusiastic readers alike. That's from School Library Journal, and I could not agree more. I loved this book, and I think that you will too. One of the really cool things about the format, in addition to the novel in verse aspect, is that it follows the weeks of the year that Timothy has to spend on house arrest, and it goes through like seasons, so it'll go winter, spring, summer, fall, but then each of the chapters is broken down into weeks. So here we are with week 1. We're going to dive into the story now, but stay tuned to the very end because I have something exciting to share with you. All right, House Arrest by KA Holt, week 1. Boys don't write in journals unless it's court ordered. At least this is what I figured. I have nothing to say. I'm not allowed to have nothing to say except on Tuesdays when I go see Mrs. Bainbridge, who calls me Tim instead of Timothy. I sit on her squishy couch, my mouth sealed shut, my eyes burning holes in the leaves of all of her plants. She says I can call her Maureen, but who would want to be called Maureen? Adjudicated delinquent. I had to look up how to spell that 3 times. I don't feel like a delinquent, and I don't even know what adjudicated means even after looking it up. It sounds like a kung fu move. I adjudicated you in the face. Hi-ya! A whole year of this journal? Maybe I'll write about the other people I see, like Jose just being Jose. I will pretend his life is mine, like I can go still hang out in our street whenever I want, Magnolia Circle, where I've always lived, with the manhole cover that makes the perfect third base. Week 2. How do you let yourself become a probation officer? Is there a school for that? A diploma? Congrats, James, you have graduated and are now more a complete tool. James recommends not writing any more things like the last thing, otherwise the judge will get mad. Who knew my probation officer could read my journal? I would like it on the record that that isn't fair. Do you hear me, James? Do you hear me, Mrs. Bainbridge? Do you hear me, Judge? A personal journal is very crowded with so many eyes. James on Monday, Mrs. Bainbridge on Tuesday. School every day. Home every day. Nowhere else unless Mom is with me. That's the scheduled journal. Got it? It's pretty simple, like a court-ordered cage with a mom-shaped lock. You better take this journal seriously, James told me on Monday, or they'll throw you in juvie so fast your head will spin. As if my head isn't already spinning. On that day, weeks ago, I lost my head. Everything foggy and frosty, everything a dwarf name from a fairy tale that doesn't exist. I remembered I was so tired. So tired. Levi had been sick the night before, one of those nights with no nurse at home to help. Mom had her hands full, and I did too. Levi was bad sick, so I helped. Running for towels, for meds, for the heavy oxygen tanks, for the suction machine, for the spare trach tubes, for the ties to keep the tube in his neck so he could breathe, which he wasn't doing very well that night. before the morning when my head was full of fairy tale dwarves named Foggy and Frosty and Sleepy and Crazy. I will never know what I was thinking when I stole that wallet because I wasn't thinking. I wish everyone would stop asking me. There is no what when there is no thinking. There is just ising. Things happen. Things happened just like that. Snap. It is what it is. It was what it was, so stop asking. I was trying to help, that's all. But it was the opposite of help, and I know that now. I'm not sorry, though. If you're wondering, I'm just sorry I got caught, because it would have helped. It would have. Week 3. James says I should take that last part out. You better be sorry, he says, when he throws the journal into my chest, looking mad and disappointed. A look they must give tests on at Probation Officer University. This is not a joke, Timothy. They'll throw you in juvie so fast your head will spin. I mouth the words when he says them. He doesn't like that. But he needs new words. He won't like it that I wrote that either. Oh well, James. Suck it. When Levi was born, my dad was still here. 9 months ago. Feels like 9 years. Dad's heart was beating in the same room as mine, his lungs filled with the same air as mine, his stomach filled with the same pizza as mine. We had pepperoni that night. When Levi was born, we high-fived our root beers. Dad told the waitress, I have 2 boys now. How about that? And she gave us ice cream. For free. And it was the best night until it wasn't anymore. Then the phone rang in the pitch dark night and Jose's mom answered because I was at their house. Dad was at the hospital with Mom and Levi. Jose's mom came to wake me up, but I was already awake. And she drove me to the hospital and she told me Levi was sick and that the doctors didn't know what it was and it was bad, real bad. And they wanted me there in case he died so I could say goodbye. And none of it made sense because Levi was a brand new baby and nothing happens to brand new babies because they are new and haven't hurt anyone yet. And Dad still had pizza in his stomach and so did I from earlier that night when everything was okay. P.S. Levi did not die. Not any time they told us he would. And there were a lot of times. James, Mrs. B. I know you're reading this, so listen up. I'm thinking you guys don't know anything about anything. No offense, but if you're going to understand what I'm talking about in this dumb journal, I'm going to need to explain some things to your dumb faces. No offense. There are just so many things that you have to understand before you can really understand. Understand? So I can tell you about that day, that stealing day, but you're never going to know what was going on in my head because I don't know what was going on in my head. All I do know is what is going on in my life. Lesson 1, trach. You say it like trach. In case you didn't know, it's a plastic tube in Levi's neck. Well, in a hole in Levi's neck, a hole the doctor put there so Levi can breathe. The tube protects the hole, but it lets in a lot of germs, like a superhighway to his lungs, so that's no good. But breathing, it's good. Kind of a lame trade-off if you ask me. I guess that the trach is like a plastic nostril in Levi's neck. It has all the gross stuff that nostrils have, slippery boogers and slime and gunk, and when he sneezes, these snot bullets shoot out. So yeah, like a plastic nostril in your neck. But it doesn't look like a nostril. It's just a tube. And it saved Levi's life and changed everyone else's. Sometimes I wonder what it's like to breathe through your neck instead of your face. How does food taste if you can't smell it? Do your sinuses still hurt when you're sick? Does it tickle when you cough out of the tube? Does it feel weird when you swallow? It must, because Levi chokes a lot. When he chokes, we use a suction machine, and it is so loud, like a jackhammer drinking a Slurpee. It sucks all of the gunk out of the tube in his neck so Levi can breathe easy again. He always looks so relieved. I wonder how that feels. Jose came over today. He called me a felon and laughed his head off. He wanted me to come with him to Cam's paintball party. My answer, what part of house arrest don't you understand? I told him I was getting a tracking device on my ankle and if I leave the house, it will blow off my whole leg, even messier than paintball. He believed me, so then I laughed my head off. Week 4. James says I need to talk more about that day. Your journal, he says in that eye-rolly way they must teach at Probation Officer University, is to prove you are reflecting on what you did, to prove house arrest is working, to prove you don't need Dewey to set you straight. It's court-ordered, Timothy. You know what that means, right? And that's when I shout, I'm doing it, right? I'm writing in it, okay? He nods and looks kind of bored, and I wonder again how this ever happened. There are a lot of things I know that I shouldn't know about why things are the way they are, about Dad driving away and never coming back, about his job he never went back to, about Mom working nights for extra money, about food coming from the church on the corner, about Levi's medicine costing as much as a pet space shuttle. I know, but I don't say I know. But Mom knows I know, because she knows everything, except whether or not Dad is ever coming back. No one knows that. Well, maybe Dad does. A year is a long time to write in a journal and never go to paintball parties. That is not a haiku. Jose came over. It was a quick visit. His mom made a casserole for him to bring, which he thought was embarrassing. So did I. Oh, we don't need a casserole. Mom said it in her fake smile voice, but I put it in the fridge for later. It smelled so good. Way better smelling than Jose, who punched me in the shoulder and called me a smooth criminal, even though I am not smooth at all. At all. That day, always in my head, won't go away. Always in the mirror, written on my face. That day. When the guy's wallet was next to the credit card swiper thing at the checkout and the manager and the guy looked out the window at the car crash outside the grocery store, my breath came fast. My vision did this weird pinpoint thing. My brain went white. So I leaned over, grabbed the wallet, kept walking. The sun was so bright. The day was so cold. The wallet was heavier than I thought it would be. I paid $1,445.32 on one shiny blue card. Levi's medicines for 1 month. I made it 1.5 days before they caught me. 1.5 days of feeling like I could breathe. 1.5 days of trying to figure out how to tell Mom. Then the police came. If you want to know what happens for the other 48 weeks of Timothy's house arrest, you absolutely need to get this copy of the book. And then, just like I promised, something exciting. You can get this one, which is Knockout. And this is a companion novel. It picks up several years later after house arrest. And this book is all about Levi. And so I actually started reading this book first, and as I was going, I was like, God, I'm missing something. There's things that I don't know. There's pieces of the story that I don't get. And then I looked it up in line and figured out, like, I hadn't started with the first book in the series. So amazing, amazing, amazing. You should totally get both of these books. You can pick them up at your school library, your favorite local indie bookstore. And if you can't find them there, you can grab it in the links via the description box below. I hope you're loving all of the novels in verse on my channel this month, and that you're finding great things to read. I'll see you again next time. To continue reading House Arrest or Knockout by KA Holt, talk to your school librarian or purchase them from your local indie bookstore, or if you can't find them there, grab them via the link in the description box below. Then be sure to check out the rest of the First Chapter Friday playlist and the novels in verse I have for you waiting on my channel. This week's mystery quote says, "This stupid journal turned out to be not so stupid after all." Thanks for watching. Come back again and remember to subscribe so you get even more great content from the Word Nerd. See you again next time.